Greetings, viewers. You're welcome to Writing Theatre channel. I am Precious MOMODU, your host for today. With me is
ODEKOYA Mojisola Fatima.
and with us is Veronica Dan Ikpoyi. Veronica Dan is a renowned journalist and an anchor for TVC Communication. She's well known and admired for her clear tone and volume during her presentation. To kickstart this program, we'll start by asking Ms. Veronica to shed more light on the topic. How is voice important to presentation?
All right, when you talk about voice is more like your identity, and it is a powerful tool if you're a broadcast journalist, because that is what you use in communicating with your audience, whether you're on radio or on TV. And so it is that weapon you wield as a broadcaster to get the attention of your listeners or your viewers. And so how you wield it is very important to maintaining the audience you have such that they pay attention to you. So that's where you talk about authority in the use of your voice, inflections, and all of it, when you're using how you manipulate your voice such that people want to listen to you or watch you as regularly as you come up on radio or on TV. So it is more like your baton, or it is more like a weapon, like I mentioned earlier, that you use to tell your story and create emotions around what you're talking about, such that people are interested in listening to it. And so that is why when you're talking about a story that is sad, for instance, Tina Turner's death, how you talk about Tina Turner's death matters, and the way you communicate that emotion to show that she actually died is very important, so that people can relate with you, whether they are listening to you on radio or on TV.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you said the usage of voice in presentation, like our voice in presentation can impact the perception or the emotion of our
Absolutely,
audience.
absolutely.
So, how does the voice differ from other non-form of verbal communications?
Other non-form of verbal communication does not have a voice. You're not using your vocal cords. Basically, you can use hand description, you can just use any other part of your body outside of your voice to communicate with some other persons. But that is what makes the voice distinct. And like I mentioned earlier, it determines or it shows who you are. It tells, okay, this is, when you hear a certain voice, you know, okay, this is Veronica speaking. You can identify the person, you can identify with that voice. Oh, this is Mike Opoche speaking when you hear that voice. And how you wield it now is also goes to show, okay, this person knows how to manipulate their voice such that those who can hear, those who can see or can identify things, whose ears are functioning, you know, in that particular capacity, can understand, oh, this is the person speaking. So instead of using hand gestures, you can easily identify with a voice that this is a particular person that is talking. You can identify from thousands of persons speaking, or from in a room of 120 persons, for instance, and you hear someone like Mr. Michael Potter speaking. You can pick his voice, right? You might even be sleeping and you hear perhaps someone like Yori Fulani or Moriah speaking, and you can say, that's Moriah. Now that makes it different from any other mode of communication. The fact that you are able to identify an individual. Why? Because you have heard that voice over time. You are used to, you have become familiar with that voice and the tone, how the person manipulates their voice to communicate.
Right. So what mistakes do the speakers make during presentation? Like what voice mistake or vocal mistake?
Right, for some persons, they do not know when to rise and when to fall, where to use their inflections, that's the right word, and where to, perhaps you begin a story. For instance, if you begin a journey, it has an end. There's an end to that journey. So when you begin, how the crescendo, how do you rise? How then do you drop your tone? When you're wrapping up, say, a story, for instance. When you're telling a story, how you manipulate your voice would drive that message to whoever is listening. I mentioned Tina Turner's death. Now, how you talk about or read about a Tina Turner would really tell me, the listener, that you understand that she died. You cannot be laughing or have an exciting tone to your voice when you're talking about her death. Perhaps when you want to talk about her achievements, you can speak in an exciting tone. Oh, she achieved so much in the 5 decades of her career. She was this, she was that. But when you want to talk about, oh, Tina Turner has died, you don't say, Tina Turner has died. Like you were expecting her to die. Yes, she's going to die, but the idea is not that we're expecting her to die and that you are excited about it, but you go about saying Tina Turner has died, just to hit home the point that she has died. But then when you now want to move over to talking about her achievements, you can now start speaking with excitement that, oh, she was able to achieve this in her career. You talk about her electrifying performance on stage, how she was able to capture her audience, both the young and the old, who came for her performances and all of it. That shows you that you know how to maneuver your voice, you know how to manipulate your voice to pass across the message. And so people can always look forward to listening to you, whether you're on radio or on TV. So that is how you know who is an authority in the act of using their voice when it comes to speaking or presentation or whatever it is.
So the tone and volume must match the content of the presentation for the audience to be able to understand the
Relate
message
with it, yeah.
you're trying to pass across. Okay.
I watch your programs a lot, and actually I'm always very impressed with your presentation because you are always very calm and at peace. So what strategies do you use to manage your nerves regardless of what you might be going through at that time personally, and regardless of how you feel about what you're about to talk about?
So the truth is, presentation is like acting. You're an actor. Yes, you know you have issues you have to deal with, but there is a responsibility for you to deliver on your job at the time. And you know that you have persons who are looking forward to listening to you at the time as well. So you put on that, that regalia of a presenter because you have become an authority. You have become someone who have mastered the art of managing your emotions and delivering on your job. Yes, you know that the first responsibility you have as you sit on set is to deliver. And so that is what will be your focus. So the moment you are done reading the last word and the sick tune of your station comes on, then you can go back to being the person you are to face your responsibility, whatever issues you have to deal with. So you have to stomach whatever challenge you are going through at the time. It's not pretense. No, you only know how to manage the issues. You have tabled it. What I have to do now, on the scale of preference, I have to do my job first, and then I have to attend to whatever the issues are later on. You have all the ample time to address that once you are done with your job. So you focus on the job, ensure you give it your best shot, because you don't know if you might get the next job you're looking for because of how you presented that you made that presentation. You gave it your best shot, and so afterwards you can now address other issues. That's not for the public eye, that's for you and your person, that's your personal life basically. So you know how to segment your life, put on your toga or garment of presentation when it is time to present, take it off when you're done, become the human that you are.
So, this like one of the strategies in order to overcome nervousness or anxiety during representation. You have to forget whatever problem you are facing at that moment and focus on whatever problem you are facing at that moment and focus.
You have to know how to manage your emotions. Now, the job you want to do, you know, some of us, we are very emotional beings, but you should know how to manage it. Not that you are forgetting. It is there, you can't forget.
So manage your emotions so it doesn't affect.
It doesn't affect your delivery. Because your delivery is hinged on so many things. Your promotion, the opportunities you get outside of there, and you know that you need all of these things. You need to grow. So you would have to put aside, for the time being, whatever issues you're going through and get into the business of the day.
Okay. So Ma, do you have any advice for presenters out there on how we can protect their voice?
How to protect your voice? Basically, yes, what you eat, and also do voice exercises. You know, sometimes some persons, you take cold water, it affects your voice. You eat popcorn, it affects your voice. So you must be deliberate at understanding, okay, there are certain things I take in that will affect my voice, the voice texture. So you ensure that you avoid them. That's where discipline comes in. You ensure that you avoid them as much as possible, because this is what pays you. So you have to pay the price to ensure that you keep getting paid. And so you discipline yourself to ensure that you avoid those things that will affect the texture of your voice, your delivery, and also take things that will improve the texture of your voice. Relax as much as possible. Don't go about shouting and engaging in certain conversations that will strain your voice, knowing that perhaps the following morning or the following day, you have to be somewhere to present, and that could impact your voice, where people will be struggling to hear what you're saying and you keep hearing, I can't hear you, or you just keep clearing your throat or your vocal cords to ensure that you are clear enough as much as possible.
That'll be all for today. We want to thank our wonderful guest for helping us shed more light on the topic. So, through our responses, I believe we've all heard that voice is actually very, very important in presentation. It's just like our newspaper, like a newspaper. We know that punctuation is very important in newspaper. So that's how important voice is to presentation. And like she said, as a presenter, whatever challenges you are facing, you need to be able to control and manage your emotions so it doesn't affect your job or your delivery at that particular time. So that will be all for today. We'll see you next week. I remain your host, Precious Momodu.